Hello there everyone, and welcome to my headcanon on the history of Fairy Tale's Dragon King, Acnologia. Alright, that's enough. Anyways, like I was saying, we're going to dive deep into the dark and tragic history of a character. Well, history isn't very much discussed about. But what if there was more to it? What if we got to see the points of views of the people from back then? What if we got to see how Acnologia truly came to be? And that's what this video will be addressing towards. I will start off by explaining a couple of my theories about dragons and Dragonslayers and the lives of the people back during the days of when dragons ruled the earth. After that, I will be going into a storyteller mode, like storytellers by the campfire. And that would be the headcanon part of my video. I'll be giving a heads up when it's coming. Oh, and right, before we continue on in the video any further, let me just warn you. Spoiler alerts. Are we good now? So let's begin with what dragon slaying magic is. I think it's pretty clear by now that this is pretty darn powerful. We've seen many spells and attacks that were done by the 5 main Dragonslayers. Oh right, I'm talking about the first generation Dragonslayers, excluding Loxus and Cobra. And I'm focusing on them because they got their powers from actual dragons teaching it to them. And that's where the connection forms between dragons and Dragonslayers. Dragonslayers are people who are gifted with the power to kill dragons, hence their titles. However, this power is a type of magic, and therefore, not all Dragonslayers would be powerful Dragonslayers. They'd be powerful wizards with this magic, but only a few would be able to master this power and actually slay a dragon. It is shown throughout the anime that the first-gen Dragonslayers, more specifically Natsu, are quite formidable opponents, as we can see from all the enemies they've taken down in each arc. Yes, it's true that 99% of the time they use the ever-famous power of friendship, but it doesn't deny the fact that their magic is quite powerful, and they are skilled with it. But in comes the Grand Magic Games arc. Remember the epic fights in the arena with Gray and Urza and Wendy, and most of all with Natsu and how he completely creamed Sting and Rogue? The first half of the arc shows off how great Fairy Tale's Dragonslayers are, which is something that the fans were hyped about. But the ending of the arc shows that the ever-powerful Dragonslayers failed in fulfilling their duties as Dragonslayers. When 7 dragons came out of the Eclipse Door, all 7 Dragonslayers failed to kill a single one of them. The dragons disappeared when the door was destroyed, which was a relief, but the Dragonslayers were left with a troubling thought. The fact that they couldn't slay one dragon during that incident is indeed something to be ashamed about. On the other hand, Acnologia had slayed over hundreds of dragons during his time, and comparing that to the first-gen Dragonslayers, well, now it's understandable how the power of Nakama didn't work too well back on Tenero Island. So do you see? Dragon slaying magic is something that needs to be worked on and fine-tuned until it is mastered. Our Dragonslayers are still young and have a long road to go. But what about Dragon Force? Well, Dragon Force is a state when a Dragonslayer is at its most powerful. It only triggers in an Aethernatal-rich environment. During Dragon Force, the Dragonslayer would attain attributes of the dragon that it learned its magic from. Scales may grow on the Slayer's body, making it appear even more like a dragon. But what does this have to do with the connection between dragons and Dragonslayers? Well, here's my final theory. Dragonslayers are just humans given the power of a dragon. It's not an actual individual magic. Dragon slaying magic and dragon magic is the same, but Dragonslayers can't wield the same amount of power as dragons because their bodies won't be able to support the immensity of it. Hence why Dragon Force is only achievable in Aethernatal-rich environments. Dragons at all their power would require loads of Aether Nano. Dragon Force is the closest state a Dragonslayer would be to a dragon, which is why they would grow attributes such as scales and a hair color change to match that of a dragon. They would be able to wield power close to that of a dragon, and that's where Acnologia comes in. Acnologia probably started out similar to Natsu. Then he gained more power and experience as he fought in a dragon civil war. His dragon-slaying magic increased. At the end of the war, he and his comrades betrayed the dragons and started killing them. And for each of his kills, his power increased even more, until he finally became a dragon because his human body could no longer hold this amount of power. Becoming a dragon is the ultimate accomplishment of a Dragonslayer. Without it, the Dragonslayers wouldn't be able to reach their full potential, because like I said, dragon slaying magic is dragon magic. But it doesn't necessarily mean a happy ending. As we can see, Acnologia is living in solitary, being feared by all the common people. So what Igneal, the other dragons of the first gen Slayers, did wasn't to purposely stop them from reaching their full potential, but to stop them from becoming like Acnologia, which the majority of us FT fans already knows about, I hope. So now that this is done, it's time to move on to my second topic, the people from back then. Zirconus confirmed that over 400 years ago, dragons were the kings of the earth, and they were extremely ruthless kings as well. People were the main diet for those beasts back then. So I'm assuming it's something like Attack on Titan, except instead of titans, it's dragons. At least that's how I imagine it. Well, if the time really was like Attack on Titan, then it's easy to imagine how horrible those people's lives were. Being hunted like everyday animals. It's an ill thought that each second of the day might be your last. So when these hopeless surviving humans were given the chance to be taught dragon slaying magic, they would most likely be overjoyed. Finally, they could fight the very thing that they had to constantly run away from. But years of living under oppression like that created a resolve deep inside each dragon slayer, a resolve to rid their world of dragons forever. And so, they turned against the dragons who taught them dragon-slaying magic as well, out of fear that they would try to take over the lives of humans again, and for revenge of the many thousands of loved ones that were lost due to the dragons. And of course, Acnologia was amongst those dragon slayers who betrayed their own dragons. But of course they would. After so many years of living under the dragon's reign, it's hard to not look at the dragon and immediately associate it with the word evil and killer. Acnologia said so himself during his battle with Igneal in the Tartaros arc, that he is displeased that dragons are still alive and promises to slay Igneal as his enemy, because that's how he sees them. He and all the people during the time when dragons ruled the earth. All dragons are their enemies. All dragons are killers. And that's why they turned on them at the end of the Dragon Civil War. They don't want dragons to exist anymore, and with their new powers as dragon slayers, they can finally rid the world of dragons. Does he still seem evil now? Well, maybe he does, but at least it's a little bit more understandable. And that concludes my series on dragon slaying magic and the people of the Dragon Apocalypse. I will now be entering into my headcanon parts of Acnologia, his backstory. So if you're not exactly a person who's accepting of other people's opinions, then I suggest you to keep an open mind or just quit this video right now. But if you're okay with this and accepting, or just want to hear a good story, then sit back and listen. At least I hope it's a good story. Long, long ago, in the world where Fairy Tale would one day reside in, the all-powerful dragon race dominated the earth. They ruled the continents and would prey on anything that was weaker than them or would challenge them to their almightiness. Nobody knew where the dragons came from, but they knew that they won't leave, for the dragons were arrogant creatures, loving the way humans of the earth would cower below them. Some of the last living wizards said that the dragons came as a punishment for humans for taking too much of their good life for granted. They didn't know how good they had it until it's gone, which was right now. The dragons were mainly carnivores, which meant that they fed on the flesh of any living creature in order to survive. And because the humans were abundant in number, they became their main diet. Dragons were better than the humans in nearly every possible way. They were faster, stronger, smarter, and not to mention better practitioners of magic. The humans were driven into a new apocalyptic world in just one night. Over the course of many centuries, the human population severely decreased, and they became scattered all over the world. Many of them stayed together in individual survival groups, where they would all look out for one another and increase their own chances of staying alive. The last remaining wizards amongst the humans either died of magic deficiency disease due to the large amount of Easter nano being used by the dragons, or by the way most of their brethren had died. In this world of death and survival, the humans still haven't given up hope. Many of them believed that if they could repopulate the world again, they would one day have a fighting chance against the dragons. Fertility rocketed sky high, and their survival groups began putting their lives on the line to secure their next generation. Anybody under the age of 12 was considered to be worth dying for. And one day, outside of the kingdom of Dragna, somewhere in the eastern continent of Ishgar, a woman named Ray fell into labor. Her cries of pain alerted a few hunting dragons nearby, but luckily the members of the group she was a part of came to her aid. Desperately running, protecting Ray from the hunting dragons, the people escorted her into the safety of the roots of a waterborne tree. Several members of the group didn't make it to safety that day. They became dragon food. Only one other woman had managed to make it out alive, and she helped Ray deliver her baby boy into the world. The baby was named Akil by Ray, meaning free thinker or powerful and complete. He was a healthy little boy, and a quiet one too. Akil barely cried during his time as an infant, which made traveling much safer and protecting him less risky. The group Akil and his mother Ray belonged to was a small group, and during his infant to toddler years, his mother was unable to produce mammalian milk to nourish him. So many of the group's rangers had to go out and find natural milk or collect sweet berries to squish into liquids for him to eat. Though many of them had died trying to bring back the nourishment for baby Akil, it was still considered to be worth it. A good amount of them managed to survive and move on. Akil was their next generation, so they needed to be there for him, to raise him the proper way, to make their future stronger than their past, so that one day they may live their lives free from the dragon's terror. Ray kept her baby close to her at all times, always making sure that he has enough to wear, enough to drink, and enough time to strengthen. In times like this, no matter how young the person is, everyone needs to be tough in order to live, be it boy, girl, old, young. It doesn't matter unless they know how to take care of themselves, otherwise they will surely die. And that's why it was so important to not be so dependent on others, but to prioritize only one thing, and that is their own life. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below for more of this content. Bye!